Maya Johnson moved silently like a shadow in the grand mansion nestled amid lush green gardens on the city's outskirts. A black woman with deep, soulful eyes and a rare smile, she once dreamed of becoming a writer crafting stories that inspired others with the strength of the human spirit. But that dream had been buried 5 years ago when her family, to protect their assets and reputation, arranged a marriage with Ethan Caldwell, a wealthy, powerful white American businessman. Ethan, with blonde hair and a cold gaze, was a man admired by the entire city, but to Maya, he was the embodiment of distance and judgment. Every day, Ethan reminded Maya that she failed to meet his expectations of a perfect wife for the elite class. "You're not refined enough, Maya," he said sharply when she laughed too loudly during a private dinner. "You don't know how to talk to important people," he complained when she tried to share her thoughts on a favorite book. Worse, he often hinted at her skin color as a barrier, though he never said it outright. "You don't belong at events like the Harper Foundation Gala. Stay home. Don't embarrass me." Those words, repeated over 5 years, had etched themselves into Maya's mind, making her believe she was truly invisible, unworthy. With its thick curtains shutting out the light, the mansion had become both a refuge and a prison for Maya. She spent hours in the library, immersing herself in books about history, literature, and stories of women who had overcome hardship. The pages were her comfort, the only place she could be herself without judgment. Aside from her books, only 2 people truly saw Maya: Mrs. Rosa Martinez, the housekeeper with silver hair and a warm heart, and Mr. Henry Brooks, the elderly gardener with a gentle smile. Mrs. Rosa would often sneak chamomile tea into the library, accompanied by quiet encouragement. "You're a hidden gem, Maya, even if the master doesn't see it." Every morning, Mr. Henry left a fresh rose by her bedroom window, a silent reminder that she was still worthy of love. Today, Ethan was preparing to attend the annual Harper Foundation Gala, an important event where influential business people gathered. He stood before the mirror in his dressing room, adjusting his expensive tie, not even glancing at Maya, who clutched an old sweater in the doorway. "You're staying home tonight," he ordered, his voice devoid of emotion. "This gala is too important. There can't be any mistakes." Maya bit her lip, wanting to protest, to scream that she had a right to be there, that she wasn't a hidden ornament to be kept out of sight, but 5 years of being diminished had taught her silence. She nodded and turned away, her heart heavy. As the hum of Ethan's luxury car faded down the gravel path, Maya sat in the library armchair and opened an old novel. But this time the words offered no comfort. A memory surfaced the day she stood on her high school stage reading a poem she had written about hope and identity, greeted by a room full of applause. "Who was I?" she whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks. "How did I let myself disappear like this?" At that moment, a small flame flickered inside Maya, faint but unquenchable. She didn't know that just a few hours from now, an unexpected gift would arrive, opening a path back to herself. The sound of Ethan Caldwell's car had faded away, leaving the mansion shrouded in silence. Maya Johnson sat in the library, the dim light from the desk lamp casting a soft glow on the open book in her hands, but her mind was elsewhere. She thought about the Harper Foundation Gala, where Ethan was likely smiling and conversing with influential people while she was left behind like a shameful secret. The familiar pain tightened in her chest, but it was mixed with something else. This time a faint spark of indignation, like a flame waiting to ignite. The doorbell rang, breaking the silence. Maya flinched, setting the book down. Who would come at this hour? Rosa Martinez, the housekeeper, with her quick steps, despite her silver hair, appeared at the library doorway. "There's a package for you, Maya," she said, her voice filled with curiosity. A large white box was tied with a shimmering purple silk ribbon in her hands. For me? Who sent it? Maya frowned. Rosa shrugged, but her eyes twinkled with a mysterious smile. No sender's name. Open it and see. Maya hesitated, her fingers brushing over the ribbon. In 5 years of marriage, she had rarely received gifts, except for cold pieces of jewelry from Ethan, always accompanied by reminders that she needed to look more appropriate. But this box felt different. It had a strange sincerity, as if it were an invitation. She carefully untied the ribbon and lifted the lid. Inside lay a stunning purple dress, the silk fabric flowing like water shimmering under the light. The deep, rich hue reminded her of queens from the fairy tales she once adored. She froze, her heart racing. Tucked within the folds of the fabric was a small card, the handwriting elegant and fluid, for when you're ready to shine. A friend. Maya stared at the card, her mind reeling. Who would send this? She whispered. Rosa stood beside her, arms crossed, her smile now unmistakable. Maybe someone who sees what you haven't seen in yourself, she said. Try it on, Maya. You deserve it. Maya shook her head, fear creeping in again. What's the point? Rosa, Ethan doesn't want me at the gala. He said I'd embarrass him. She laughed bitterly, her eyes glancing down at her brown skin, as if it explained every rejection Ethan had ever voiced. And maybe he's right. I don't belong there. Rosa stepped forward, placing a warm hand on Maya's shoulder. Listen to me, she said firmly. I've lived long enough to know that the places that don't welcome us are often the places we need to be. This dress isn't just fabric. It's a reminder that you have a right to be seen. Rosa's words stirred a long-buried memory. Maya recalled an evening in college when she stood before a packed auditorium reading an essay about Black women's identity and resilience. The crowd had risen to applaud, and her professor had said, Maya, your voice has the power to change the world. But after marrying Ethan, that voice had been silenced, persuaded by her family and herself that silence was the price of safety. This bold, radiant purple dress challenged her to reclaim that voice. Maya touched the fabric, feeling its softness beneath her fingertips. A vision flashed in her mind. She walked into the gala, her head held high, her eyes turning not in judgment, but in awe. But just as quickly, fear crept in. What if Ethan became furious? What if the elite guests whispered about her skin and her daring to show up uninvited? She shivered, but the small flame within her heart refused to be extinguished. I don't know, Rosa, Maya said, trembling. What if I go and everything falls apart? Rosa looked at her, eyes filled with trust. And what if it turns out to be beautiful? You'll never know unless you try. Don't let Mr. Caldwell or anyone decide your worth. Maya looked at the dress again, her heart pounding. She thought of the stories she'd read of heroines who faced their fears to change their destinies. Could she be one of them? In a sudden, impulsive moment, Maya clutched the box to her chest. All right, she whispered, her voice a mix of fear and determination. I'll try. Rosa clapped her hands, beaming. Good. I'll call Sophia. She'll help you shine like a star. As Rosa left to fetch her daughter, Maya stood alone in the library, the purple dress in her hands. She had no idea that this decision would open a new path, one where she would face Ethan's society and, most importantly, herself. Maya Johnson's bedroom, once quiet and gloomy, was now brimming with energy. The dazzling purple dress spread across the bed, shimmering like a promise. Maya stood in front of the mirror, her heart pounding, as Rosa Martinez pushed the door open. Behind her was Sophia, her daughter, carrying 2 large suitcases filled with beauty supplies. Sophia, her curly hair tied high and her smile radiant, set the cases down and said, "Rosa told me, tonight is your night, Maya. And I'm here to make sure you're the brightest star." Maya offered a faint smile, but fear still clung tightly to her. "I'm not sure this is a good idea, Sophia," she confessed, her fingers fiddling with the hem of her old sweater. "Ethan will be furious if I show up at the gala. And those people—" She paused, her gaze drifting across her brown skin in the mirror. "They'll look at me like I don't belong." Sophia stopped unpacking, meeting Maya's eyes through the mirror with determination. "You know I've done hair for some of the richest women in this city. They might wear expensive clothes, but many have nothing special except money. You, Maya, have a story. And tonight, we're going to tell it." Rosa, who was hanging the purple dress on a rack, nodded in agreement. "Do you remember the first time you read stories to the kids in my neighborhood?" she asked, her voice warm. "You made them laugh, made them dream. You have that power, Maya. Don't let Mr. Caldwell or anyone else take it away." Maya blushed, remembering those afternoons volunteering in Rosa's neighborhood, reading books to children, and feeling like her true self. But the Harper Foundation Gala was a different world, a battlefield of lights and judgment, where she feared being torn apart by critical glances. Sophia got to work guiding Maya to sit at the vanity. She gently combed through Maya's natural curls, shaping them into elegant waves. "You have gorgeous hair," Sophia said. "And this skin, it's going to glow under those gala lights." Maya looked at Sophia in the mirror, sensing the sincerity in her words. But then, a painful memory resurfaced. She recalled the first party after marrying Ethan, when a drunk socialite whispered to him, "You chose a different kind of wife, huh? Not my type." Ethan had laughed, offering no defense. Since then, Maya had avoided such events, convincing herself her absence protected Ethan and herself. "I'm scared," Rosa Maya admitted, her voice trembling. "What if I go and everyone sees me as an outsider? Or worse, what if Ethan sends me home?" Rosa sat beside her, her wrinkled hand clasping Maya's. "Let me tell you a story," she began, her voice lowering. "When I was young, I worked as a waitress at a fancy hotel. One time I spilled wine on a rich lady's gown. She screamed and called me useless in front of everyone. I wanted to disappear. But that night another guest, a black woman like you, found me and said, 'Don't ever let them make you feel small. You are light, and light always finds its way.' I promised never to bow my head again from that night on." Rosa's story touched Maya's heart. She thought of her mother, a teacher who had once told her that her skin color was a legacy, not a burden. What would Mom say if she saw me now? Maya wondered, tears glistening in her eyes. Sophia, applying foundation to her cheekbones, smiled. She'd say, "Daughter, stand up and shine." And that's exactly what we're doing. Sophia finished the makeup, highlighting Maya's deep eyes with smoky eyeliner and painting her lips a bold red. Rosa helped Maya into the purple dress, the fabric hugging her body, like it had been made for her, accentuating the curves she usually hid. When Sophia led Maya to the full-length mirror, the room fell silent. Maya stared at her reflection in awe. A strong, confident woman with luminous skin, elegant hair, and a dress that declared defiance. "This is me," she whispered, her voice catching in her throat. Sophia clapped. "This has always been you, Maya. We just helped you see it more clearly." Rosa placed a hand on her shoulder, her eyes sparkling. "Are you ready? The gala has started, and I've called the car. Henry's waiting outside." Maya took a deep breath, her heart pounding like a drum. She thought of Ethan, the eyes that would follow her, and the possibility of rejection. But then she touched the dress, feeling the strength in its threads, Rosa, Sophia, and herself. "I'm ready," she said, her voice steadier than ever. Sophia handed her a small silver clutch, lipstick and powder inside, just in case you want to refresh. Rosa reached into her pocket and pulled out a delicate silver necklace with a star-shaped pendant. "For courage," she said, clasping it around Maya's neck. "To remind you that you deserve to shine." As Maya stepped outside, the moonlight bathed her in silver, shimmering the purple dress. Henry, standing beside the car, beamed. "You look like a queen." "Miss Maya," he said, opening the door. Maya smiled, feeling like a true queen for the first time in years. As the car drove toward the city center, where the Harper Foundation Gala was underway, Maya clutched the star pendant tightly, ready to face Ethan, the world, and her fear. The brilliant crystal lights of the Grand Meridian Hotel made Maya Johnson squint as the car pulled up to the entrance. She clutched her silver clutch tightly, the star pendant from Rosa cool beneath her fingers. She could see the elite guests in their lavish formal wear through the window, laughing and chatting in the gilded lobby. The Harper Foundation Gala, the year's biggest event, was a stage for power and prestige. And now Maya was about to step onto that stage in her shimmering purple gown. "We've arrived," Miss Maya said. Henry Brooks, the gardener turned driver for the night, from the front seat. He turned back, offering an encouraging smile. "You look like you were born to be here." Maya took a deep breath, but her legs felt rooted to the floor. "Thank you, Henry," she whispered, voice trembling. She thought of Ethan Caldwell, her husband, somewhere in that crowd, completely unaware she was about to appear. What would happen when he saw her anger, or worse, indifference? And what would the other guests whisper about a black woman daring to enter their world? But then she touched the pendant, remembering Rosa's words. "You are light, and light always finds its way." She opened the car door and stepped out, her purple gown brushing the marble floor. The doorman, a tall man in a pressed uniform, smiled and held open the heavy glass doors. "Good evening, ma'am," he said, without hesitation. Maya nodded, surprised by the ease of his welcome. The grand foyer unfolded before her, dazzling with chandeliers and glimmering floors. The orchestral music mingled with laughter, creating a symphony of wealth. Maya followed the music, her silver heels tapping a steady rhythm, each step a declaration. But when she reached the entrance to the ballroom, where hundreds mingled and murmured, she stopped, her heart pounding. The crowd was overwhelming, the lights too bright, and she felt small again. "Invitation." "Please, ma'am," said a man with a clipboard at the entrance. Maya was startled, realizing she had no invitation. I'm Mrs. Caldwell," she said, voice slightly shaky. "My husband, Ethan Caldwell, is already inside." The man checked the list, then nodded. "Of course, Mrs. Caldwell. Enjoy your evening." That simple phrase, spoken with authority, opened more than just a physical door. Maya stepped into the ballroom and immediately felt the weight of every eye. The purple gown hugged her body, sparkling under the chandeliers, drawing attention. Several women in evening gowns turned to look, eyes flickering between surprise and admiration. An older gentleman nodded politely as she passed, but there were other gazes too, critical stares and whispers behind delicate fans, as if she were an intruder. Maya kept her head high, though fear and courage battled fiercely inside her. She scanned the crowd for Ethan and saw him across the room, laughing with Charles Harper, the foundation's chairman, and his wife, Evelyn Harper. With his golden hair and tailored suit, Ethan looked like he owned the room. Before Maya could approach him, a familiar voice cut in. "Well, well, who do we have here?" Claire. Donovan, Ethan's ex-girlfriend, stepped into view in a blazing red gown, her blue eyes gleaming with jealousy. Now the wife of one of Ethan's business rivals. Claire smiled with thin politeness. "Maya." I didn't expect you to dare show up. Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks, but kept her voice calm. Hello, Claire. I'm here because I'm Ethan's wife. Surprised, Claire scoffed, but before she could retort, a warm baritone interrupted. Mrs. Caldwell, what a pleasure to meet you. Charles Harper. His silver hair neatly combed and eyes sharp, stepped forward, extending his hand. Maya shook it, startled by his warmth. I've heard Ethan mention you, but he never said you were this stunning. He turned to Evelyn, who smiled kindly. Evelyn, do you see this dress? Lawrence, right? Evelyn nodded, her eyes twinkling. Definitely Lawrence. And I need to know who did your hair, Maya. It's flawless. Maya blushed, unaccustomed to such attention. Thank you both, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. My hair is thanks to a dear friend, Sophia Martinez. She glanced at Ethan just a few steps away and saw him frozen. The glass in his hand tilted precariously. His eyes flickered between shock and something else. Maybe confusion. Maya, he said, voice tight, stepping forward. Harper chuckled. Ethan, you didn't tell us your wife would be attending tonight. What a wonderful surprise. Ethan forced a smile. Yes, a last-minute decision. But Maya heard the strain in his voice. Claire, still nearby, added with a sly grin, quite the bold move, Maya. Not everyone would appear at this event without proper preparation. Maya met Claire's eyes, her voice smooth but sharp. The best preparation is courage, Miss Donovan. Wouldn't you agree? The crowd around them paused, and Evelyn burst into laughter, breaking the tension. I like her already, she said. Ethan grabbed Maya's arm, his smile stiff. If you'll excuse us, I need a word with my wife. He led her to a shadowed corner of the ballroom, his eyes flashing angrily. What are you doing here? He hissed. I told you to stay home. Maya stood tall, the star pendant glittering under the lights. I'm your wife, Ethan, she said, calm but firm. The invitation said, Mr. Ethan Caldwell and wife. I have every right to be here. Ethan opened his mouth, but found no reply. For a brief moment, Maya saw a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, like he was seeing her for the first time. From afar, Claire watched with pursed lips. Charles Harper turned to Evelyn and whispered, This woman has a presence. Standing amid the storm of emotions, Maya felt a newfound strength stirring inside her. She had stepped into the light, and no matter how hard the road ahead would be, she knew she would never return to the shadows. The Grand Meridian Hotel's ballroom shimmered with light, but to Maya Johnson, it felt as if the entire world had shrunk to a single point around her. After the brief confrontation with her husband, Ethan Caldwell, in a shadowy corner, she now stood alone, her heart pounding. The purple gown sparkled beneath the chandeliers, and Rosa Martinez's star pendant whispered against her skin, a reminder that she had chosen to step into the light. Ethan had returned to chatting with Charles Harper, but his eyes flicked toward her, occasionally full of suspicion and something more challenging to name. Maya took a deep breath, determined not to let his tension eclipse her moment. A cheerful voice called out before she could find a quiet corner to collect herself. Mrs. Caldwell. I hope I'm not interrupting. Olivia Harper, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Harper, appeared in a stunning sapphire blue dress, her smile radiant. With her curly brown hair and intelligent eyes, Olivia was a well-known journalist who was celebrated for her sharp social commentary. I've been watching you from across the room, and I have to say you're the center of the evening. That dress and your presence are simply stunning. Maya blushed, unaccustomed to such attention. Thank you, Olivia. I'm just trying to blend in. Blend in, Olivia laughed brightly, looping her arm through Maya's. You're doing far more than that. Come, let me introduce you to the interesting people. Maya hesitated, but Olivia's warmth made her feel at ease. Olivia's group included a documentary filmmaker, a history professor, and a community activist, all of whom welcomed Maya with genuine curiosity. Olivia says, "You're into books," said Rachel the filmmaker. "Have you read Beloved by Toni Morrison? I'm working on a film inspired by it." Maya's eyes lit up. "It's one of my favorites. The way Morrison weaves history and emotion, it's deeply moving." The conversation quickly flowed from literature to social issues like education and inequality. Maya, who used to stay silent at Ethan's social events, suddenly spoke freely, listening to and respecting her ideas. She shared stories about reading to children in Rosa's neighborhood, and Daniel, the history professor, nodded in approval. "You have a remarkable perspective, Mrs. Caldwell. Have you ever considered writing about these experiences?" The compliment flustered Maya, but it stirred something long buried, a dream of becoming a writer that she'd hidden away since marrying Ethan. Before she could respond, Olivia pointed toward the dance floor, where the orchestra had begun a gentle waltz. "Come on, Maya. Do you dance?" Maya shook her head, laughing nervously. "I've never danced at an event like this. I'd mess everything up." Lucas Harper, Olivia's brother, a gentle-eyed architect, approached with a soft smile. "It's just moving to music," he said, offering his hand. "I promise not to let you trip." Maya looked at his hand, then at Olivia, who winked encouragingly. She thought of all the years she'd hidden in the shadows, saying no to every chance to shine. "All right," she said, placing her hand in his. "But I apologize in advance if I step on your toes." The crowd parted as they stepped onto the dance floor, and Maya felt eyes on her, some admiring, some curious, and a few whispering in disapproval. She tried to focus on Lucas's steps, but then she saw Clare Donovan standing nearby, lips tight, eyes gleaming with jealousy. The dance began, and although clumsy, Maya gradually found her rhythm. Lucas led her, gently whispering guidance whenever she faltered. "You're doing great," he said, smiling. "See nothing to fear." Maya laughed, feeling a rare sense of ease for the first time that evening. As the music ended, Lucas bowed, and the crowd offered polite applause. Before Maya could return to the table, Charles Harper stepped forward, his eyes twinkling. "Mrs. Caldwell, may I have the next dance?" Maya was stunned. The most powerful man in the room wanted to dance with her. She glanced at Ethan across the room, his expression frozen, his eyes a mix of shock and discomfort. "I'd be honored, Mr. Harper," Maya said, placing her hand in his. As they glided across the floor, Mr. Harper smiled warmly. "You've made quite the impression tonight, young lady. I've known Ethan for 5 years, and he's never mentioned having such a charming wife." Maya smiled, unsure of what to say. She thought about the years Ethan had kept her hidden, like a secret not worth showing. "Ethan prefers to attend these events solo," she said carefully. Mr. Harper nodded, as if understanding something unspoken. Sometimes people fail to recognize the treasure right before them. The dance ended, and Mr. Harper led Maya back toward the edge of the dance floor. "My wife and I would love to have you and Ethan for dinner next week," he said. "Just something small so we can talk more comfortably." Maya nodded, surprised by the invitation. "I'd love that, Mr. Harper." As he walked away, Maya turned and saw Ethan approaching, his expression unreadable. "What did Harper say to you?" he asked, tense. Maya smoothed her dress, keeping her composure. "He invited us to dinner next week. Both of us." Ethan blinked, clearly caught off guard. "Both of us." Harper rarely invites people to his home. He looked at Maya as if trying to solve a puzzle. "What did you do to impress him?" Maya gave a gentle smile, her voice steady. I was just being myself, Ethan. Try getting to know me. The words, soft yet sharp, left Ethan speechless. Across the room, Clare Donovan gripped her wineglass tightly. Nearby, Olivia Harper winked at Maya as if to say, well done. Standing in the heart of the ballroom, Maya felt a new power within her. She hadn't just survived the night she had shown, but from Ethan's conflicted gaze and Clare's growing envy, she knew this was only the beginning of her journey. The lights in the Grand Meridian Hotel ballroom still glimmered, but Maya Johnson felt a chill as Ethan Caldwell led her into a quiet hallway, far from the music and laughter of the Harper Foundation gala. Her purple gown shimmered under the dim light, but Ethan's furious gaze was now testing the confidence she had just found on the dance floor. Rosa Martinez's star pendant lay cool against her chest, like a protective talisman, reminding her of the courage that had brought her here. Maya stood tall, ready to face her husband. Ethan stopped and released her hand, as if touching her had been reluctant. What game are you playing, Maya? He asked, his voice low but sharp, as though trying to suppress his anger in front of the passing staff. I made it clear you weren't supposed to be here. You know how important this gala is for my work. Maya looked him straight in the eye, her heart pounding, but her voice calm. I'm not playing any games, Ethan. I'm here because I'm your wife. The invitation clearly said, Mr. Ethan Caldwell and wife. Or, are you saying, I'm not worthy of being your wife? Her words, sharp yet composed, made Ethan falter. He ran a hand through his blonde hair, a rare sign of losing control. Don't twist my words. He snapped his voice tight. You know what I mean. The people here expect a certain image, and you... He stopped, realizing he was about to say something irretrievable. But Maya didn't let him off the hook. And what about me, Ethan? She stepped closer, her eyes defiant. Not beautiful enough, not refined enough, or not white enough. The final question hung between them, heavy like an anchor. Ethan blinked, his face flushed slightly, but he didn't answer immediately. In the silence, Maya saw a flicker in his eyes, not just anger, but shame. She continued, her voice trembling slightly with pent-up emotion. For 5 years, you've made me feel like a mistake, Ethan. You've hidden me away, told me I'd embarrass you. But tonight, I realize the one who should be ashamed isn't me. Ethan opened his mouth, but closed it again, unable to find a retort. A memory flashed through his mind, their wedding day, when he had stared into the mirror in frustration, resenting the fact that he was marrying Maya instead of Clare Donovan, his ex, someone he had once thought was perfect for his world. With her blonde hair and polished smile, Clare had fit the image he believed someone like him needed. But now, looking at Maya in her radiant purple gown, carrying herself with a grace that even Charles Harper had acknowledged, Ethan felt his pride begin to crack. Where had he gone wrong? You don't understand, he finally said, his voice hoarse. These people, they judge everything. One misstep can destroy business relationships. Maya let out a soft, humorless laugh. And I'm that misstep, right? Then why did Mr. Harper invite us to dinner? Why did Olivia Harper pull me into her circle? Maybe, Ethan, you're the only one in this room who thinks I don't belong. Her words landed like a blow, and Ethan stepped back, his eyes unsettled. From the end of the hallway, Clare Donovan appeared, as if sensing her moment. She approached, her crimson dress, dazzling, a fake smile masking her envy. Oh, Ethan, Maya, she said, her voice overly sweet. I don't mean to interrupt, but people are asking for you, Ethan. And Maya, it's so bold of you to come tonight. Not everyone has that kind of courage. Maya turned to Clare, her gaze sharp. Thank you, Clare, she replied, calm but assertive. But I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to live my life. Claire's lips tightened, and she hadn't expected that response. Ethan looked between the two women, and for the first time Claire, his former ideals seemed to fade beside Maya's brilliance. But his pride still wouldn't let him admit it. I need to get back, Ethan said stiffly, trying to reclaim control. You want to stay, Maya, fine. But don't expect me to babysit you all night. He turned and walked toward the ballroom. But Maya noticed something. He hadn't ordered her to leave. It was a small victory, but enough to make her stronger. Claire, still lingering, made one final attempt. You know, Maya, events like these, they're not for everyone. Ethan needs someone more fitting by his side. Maya looked at her, her smile gentle but firm. Maybe what he needs is someone who sees him, Claire, not someone who only sees his money and power. Without waiting for a reaction, Maya turned and returned to the ballroom, her head held high. Olivia Harper was waiting near the entrance as she re-entered, her eyes sparkling. I saw you shut down Claire Donovan, Olivia said with a mischievous grin. Come on, Maya. I want you to meet a few more people. Tonight is your night. Maya smiled, feeling a surge of fresh energy. She glanced at Ethan speaking with Mr. Harper, but his eyes were on her. At that moment, Maya knew she had changed the rules, not just with Ethan, but for herself. Morning sunlight slipped through the villa's curtains, casting a golden glow on the breakfast table, where Maya Johnson sat quietly sipping her coffee. The Harper Foundation Gala, now 3 days past, still felt like a dream. The purple gown, the dances, and the moment she stood her ground with Ethan Caldwell, her husband, forcing him to see her finally. But now, in the familiarity of home, Maya wondered if that flame of courage would keep burning or slowly fade. Ethan entered the room perfectly dressed in a tailored suit, but there was something different in his eyes, no longer cold, but hesitant. Maya, he said in a low voice, taking the seat across from her. I have to go to New York this week to negotiate with Julianne Lefebvre from Lefebvre Enterprises. I want you to come with me. Maya looked up, surprised. Ethan had never invited her on business trips before, always making excuses that she didn't fit into his world. Why, she asked cautiously. Ethan hesitated, as though carefully choosing his words. After the gala, I think you could bring a new perspective. And I want us to try again, Maya. Not like before. The invitation, clumsy as it was, made Maya's heart race. She remembered Ethan's uncertain gaze when she stood tall before him and Claire Donovan that night. But she also remembered 5 years of being dismissed, of feeling invisible. I'll go, she finally said, but not to be your accessory, Ethan. If I go as myself. Ethan nodded, a flicker of relief in his eyes. All right, I promise. Yep, duo. New York welcomed them with its vibrant rhythm and dazzling lights. Maya stood on the hotel balcony, gazing down at Manhattan, feeling like this city was a brand new stage. Ethan met with Julien Lefebvre, a famously tough French businessman, to negotiate a crucial distribution deal. Though she wasn't invited into the formal negotiations, Ethan did ask her to attend a business dinner. Lefebvre likes people with personality, he said. You've got that, Maya. Maya wore an elegant black dress from Madame Laurent that evening at Le Bernardin. Her natural curls were swept into a high bun, the star pendant at her neck glinting in the soft light. Julien Lefebvre, with his salt and pepper hair and piercing gaze, greeted her with a warm smile. Mrs. Caldwell, what an honor, he said, shaking her hand. Ethan never mentioned he had such an intelligent wife. Maya smiled, noticing the curious glances from other partners, some friendly, others assessing, as if wondering what she was doing there. During dinner, the conversation turned to business. Lefebvre was pushing for exclusive distribution rights, which could damage Ethan's current partners. Maya listened carefully, picking up on the subtleties Ethan often missed when immersed in contracts. When one of Lefebvre's associates, Mr. DuPont, remarked snidely, "I hope Mrs. Caldwell doesn't find all this business talk too complicated," Maya replied calmly, "Not at all, Mr. DuPont. The real question is how to balance short-term gain with long-term loyalty. Wouldn't you agree?" The table fell silent. Then Lefebvre burst out laughing. "She's right, Ethan. You should bring your wife to all the meetings." Ethan looked at Maya, his eyes a mix of surprise and pride. But the moment was interrupted when Clare Donovan walked into the restaurant arm in arm with her husband, one of Ethan's business rivals. Clare, radiant in a golden dress, smiled sweetly when she spotted them. "Ethan, Maya. What a coincidence." She chimed, her voice sugary, her eyes sharp. She took a seat nearby, clearly positioning herself to observe. Maya felt her blood rise, but kept her composure, focusing on the conversation with Lefebvre. After dinner, as the partners departed, Lefebvre pulled Ethan and Maya aside. "Mrs. Caldwell, your perspective on loyalty was truly thought-provoking," he said. "I'd like to hear more from you in tomorrow's meeting." Maya nodded, heart pounding with excitement. Ethan took her hand as they left the restaurant, a rare gesture. "You did great," he said sincerely. "I've never seen Lefebvre that convinced." Maya smiled, though she didn't miss Claire's stare across the room, as if plotting her next move. Ethan stood by the window that night in their hotel suite, looking out over the city. "Maya," he said without turning around, "I owe you an apology. I haven't seen you not truly for a long time." Maya, unclasping her necklace, paused. She recalled what Ethan had once told her about Clare Donovan, the woman he once thought was more suited to his world. "Why now, Ethan?" she asked. "Because of the gala? Because of Lefebvre? Or because Claire's here, reminding you what you gave up?" Ethan turned, his eyes filled with pain. "Because I was wrong," he said. "Claire, she never really loved me. She wanted power and reputation. But you, Maya, draw attention not because you try, but because you're yourself." He stepped forward, pulling a small blue box from his pocket. Inside was a pearl bracelet, elegant, understated. "This isn't an apology," he said. "It's a promise. I want to learn to see you truly, Maya, if you'll let me." Maya stared at the bracelet, emotions swirling. She wanted to believe him, but the old wounds still ached. "I'll wear it," she said softly. "But not for you, Ethan. For myself, because I deserve beautiful things." Ethan nodded, a hint of sadness in his expression, but also determination. As Maya slipped the bracelet on, moonlight streamed through the window, shattering the pearls. She knew this trip was more than a business journey. It was the beginning of something new, not just for their relationship, but for herself. A stronger Maya, ready to face whatever came next, including Clare Donovan. Early autumn sunlight streamed through the library windows of the villa, casting a warm glow on Maya Johnson's face as she sat at the wooden desk, an open notebook before her. A week ago, the New York trip changed everything. Recognition from Julienne Lefebvre, Ethan Caldwell's apology, and the pearl bracelet she now wore as a reminder of her worth. But above all, those days in Manhattan had reignited a long-buried dream, Maya's desire to use her voice to make a difference. She scribbled down ideas, an educational center for underprivileged children, where books and hope would be free. She wanted to transform this cold, echoing mansion into a place alive with purpose, and she needed Ethan's support to make it real. Ethan stepped in, coffee in hand, his gaze softer than it had been in months. "What are you working on, Maya?" he asked, sitting across from her. Maya slid the notebook toward him. "I want to turn the house's east wing into an educational center, a space where kids can read, learn, and feel like they matter. I'm calling it the Johnson Caldwell Foundation. Ethan scanned the notes, his brow lifting in surprise. This is a big project. He said, a mix of admiration and astonishment in his voice. But I believe you can do it. I'll support it, funding, contacts, whatever you need. His promise warmed Maya's heart, but she remained cautious. I want to do this my way, Ethan, she said. This can't just be your project. It has to be ours and the community's. Ethan nodded, sincerity in his eyes. I understand. You lead, I'll follow. Maya smiled, feeling like they were a team for the first time. But she had no idea this dream would soon face challenges greater than her doubts. Maya stood in the Caldwell Enterprises boardroom 2 weeks later, facing Ethan's board of directors. She wore an elegant navy blue pantsuit, her curls tied high, the pearl bracelet gleaming on her wrist. At her side stood Olivia Harper, who had agreed to advise the foundation, and Mrs. Rosa Martinez, who insisted on attending to keep Maya's spirit strong. Maya presented her plan. The East Wing would be converted into a library and learning space for children from disadvantaged areas with literacy and skills development programs. Every child deserves to be seen, she said, her voice full of passion. The Johnson Caldwell Foundation will be their light. But not everyone was convinced. Mr. Richard Grayson, an older board member, interrupted. Mrs. Caldwell, this idea is very idealistic, he said with a hint of sarcasm. But what experience do you have to run such an organization? Frankly, we must also consider the company's image. A project like this might not align with our brand. Maya felt heat rise in her face. Not aligned, she knew what he meant. She was a black woman, not the typical face of elite philanthropy, and her vision centered on communities the board rarely acknowledged. Before Maya could respond, another voice rang out. I believe Mrs. Caldwell's idea is perfectly aligned, said Mr. Charles Harper, the honored guest at the meeting, from the end of the table. Education is the best investment, and I trust her vision. Olivia Harper nodded in support. I've seen similar programs work wonders in New York. They change lives. Maya has the data and the heart to make it happen here. Their support helped Maya stand taller. But Grayson was persistent. With all due respect, Mr. Harper, we need someone credible. Mrs. Caldwell is merely Ethan's wife. Silence fell over the room, heavy and tense. Ethan, seated at the head of the table, clenched his fists. Maya glanced at him, unsure if he would let her fight alone or step in. She took a deep breath and spoke clearly. Mr. Grayson, I'm not here because I'm Ethan's wife. I'm here because I believe in the children you deem unfit. I've read to them and listened to their stories, and I know their potential. If you're worried about reputation, think about what a foundation like this could do for the company's image. She advanced the slideshow, displaying statistics on how education transforms communities and creates long-term business goodwill. Grayson opened his mouth, but Ethan raised his hand to stop him. That's enough, Richard, he said firmly. Maya is not just my wife. She's the leader of this project, and I trust her completely. If the board refuses to support this, I'll fund the foundation personally. The room fell into stunned silence. Maya looked at Ethan, her heart pounding. This was the first time he had publicly stood beside her, not just as a husband, but as a partner. After the meeting, Olivia clapped Maya on the shoulder. You silenced them, she said, beaming. Mrs. Rosa, standing nearby, whispered, I knew you could do it. But as Maya and Ethan exited the building, a message flashed across her phone from an unknown number. Be careful, Maya. Not everyone likes your light. See. Maya frowned, suspecting Claire Donovan was behind it, but she said nothing to Ethan. She clutched the pearl bracelet tightly, more determined than ever not to let anyone extinguish her dream. That night, Maya sat in the library sketching renovation plans for the East Wing. Ethan entered holding 2 glasses of wine. "Congratulations, Maya," he said, handing her one. "You were incredible today." Maya smiled, but her gaze was serious. "Thank you for standing up for me, Ethan. But I need to know, did you do it because you believe in the foundation or are trying to make up for the past?" Ethan looked at her, his expression honest and pained. "Both," he admitted. "I was wrong not to see you, Maya. But today, watching you stand before that board, I saw a woman who can change the world. I want to be part of that world." Maya took a sip of wine, her emotions swirling. She thought of Claire's message, Grayson's disdain and judgmental stares at the gala. But she also thought of Rosa Olivia and the children the foundation would help. "We'll do this," she said with quiet strength. "But it won't be easy." Ethan nodded, placing his hand over hers. "I know. But this time, we'll face it together." Outside the window, moonlight bathed the garden, where Mr. Henry Brooks was tending the roses symbols of the new beginning Maya was building. The sunset cast a warm orange glow over the villa, but Maya Johnson felt a chill as she reread the mysterious message on her phone. "Be careful, Maya. Not everyone likes your light." See, it had been a month since Ethan Caldwell's board approved the Johnson Caldwell Foundation of Directors. Maya had poured her heart into transforming the East Wing into an educational center. But this message with the letter C, unmistakably pointing to Clare Donovan, felt like a warning that her journey was under threat. Maya set the phone down, clutching the pearl bracelet Ethan had given her in New York, a silent promise not to let fear consume her. That evening, she and Ethan were invited to a charity gala, hosted by the Harper Foundation, where Maya would officially unveil her foundation. She wore an emerald gown, her natural curls flowing freely, and Rosa Martinez's star-shaped pendant shimmered against her chest. Ethan, in a sleek black tuxedo, looked at her with admiration. "You look stunning, Maya," he said sincerely. "And tonight I know you'll leave them speechless." Maya smiled, though her eyes betrayed a flicker of concern. "Thank you, Ethan. But I have a bad feeling about Claire. She's planning something." Ethan frowned, but took her hand reassuringly. "She's not worth your worry. Tonight is yours and the foundation's. I'll be right beside you." Maya nodded, but deep down, she knew Clare Donovan was not the type to back down quietly. At the Grand Meridian Hotel, the event buzzed with excitement and pressure. Donors, business leaders, and reporters filled the ballroom ready to capture every moment. Olivia Harper greeted them with a radiant smile. "Maya, you're the star tonight," she exclaimed, pulling Maya into a warm hug. "I've set up a space for your presentation. Are you ready?" Before Maya could answer, she spotted Clare Donovan entering in a dazzling silver dress, arm in arm, with her husband, Victor Langston, a direct business rival of Ethan. Claire's smile was saccharine, her eyes locked on Maya. "Mrs. Caldwell, what a surprise," she said with faux sweetness. "I hear you're doing something ambitious with your foundation. I hope it works out." Maya responded with calm poise. "Thank you, Ms. Donovan. When you're working for children, nothing is too ambitious." Claire smirked, but her eyes flashed with hostility. The event began, and Maya stepped onto the stage, her heart pounding. She spoke about the Johnson Caldwell Foundation and the importance of education for underserved children. "Every child has a story," she said with passion, "and our foundation will help them write their most beautiful chapters." The crowd erupted in applause, and Charles Harper rose to announce the Harper Foundation's pledge of $500,000 toward the project. Maya's smile beamed until a reporter raised a hand. "Mrs. Caldwell, Some claim your foundation is just a PR move for Mr. Caldwell after recent business controversies. How do you respond? The question hit like a punch. Maya noticed Claire smiling smugly in the corner. She took a deep breath, her voice unwavering. This foundation isn't about image. It started with my belief that every child deserves an education. I've read to them and heard their dreams, and I know they can change the world. If that's controversial, I'm proud to stand in that controversy. The room fell silent, then burst into applause. Ethan, standing nearby, looked at her with pride in his eyes. But the challenge wasn't over. The next morning, an article appeared in the City Herald titled, "Billionaire's Wife Charity," or PR Stunt. The article cited anonymous sources, suggesting Maya was just a pawn in Ethan's business strategy, lacking the experience to lead. Maya sat in the library reading it, her hands shaking with fury. Rosa entered with a tray of tea, her expression dark. "Don't let them shake you, Maya. I know who's behind this." Maya nodded. "Claire." Minutes later, Olivia Harper called, her voice firm. "Maya, I looked into it. Claire met with that reporter before the event. She's trying to discredit you." Maya gripped her phone tightly. "I won't let her win." She arranged a face-to-face meeting with Claire at a high-end downtown cafe. Claire arrived in designer business wear, her expression smug. "Maya, I'm surprised you wanted to meet. Is there a problem?" Maya looked her dead in the eye, her tone icy but controlled. "I know you're behind that article, Claire. You want to shame me, but you picked the wrong woman. I'm not here to play your games. My foundation will move forward with or without your approval." Claire chuckled, though her smile tightened. "You're so naive, Maya. This world doesn't welcome people like you. Ethan needs someone more suitable." Maya stood, eyes blazing. "Ethan needs someone real, Claire. And that's me. If it's a war you want, I'm ready." As Maya walked out, her heart pounded, but she felt lighter. She hadn't just defended the foundation. She had defended herself. That evening, Ethan returned from the office, his face tense. "I read the article," he said, embracing her. "And I know Claire's behind it. I'm sorry, Maya. I let her influence me for far too long." Maya looked at him, her voice soft yet steady. "It's not your fault, Ethan. But from now on, we fight together." Ethan nodded, his gaze fierce. "I've called the lawyers. We're demanding a correction from the City Herald. I would also like you to lead a press conference about the foundation. Your voice needs to be heard." Maya smiled, feeling a new strength in Ethan's support. She thought of Rosa, Olivia, and the children still waiting for the center to open. Claire might try to dim her light, but Maya knew her light was now too bright to be hidden. The soft morning light filtered through the library window of the villa, casting a glow on Maya Johnson's weary face. 2 weeks had passed since her confrontation with Claire Donovan and the infamous article in the City Herald. Maya had hosted a successful press conference to refute the false accusations and gained strong support from the public. The Johnson Caldwell Foundation was progressing, with the East Wing gradually transforming into a vibrant educational center. But Maya felt drained. She sat at the desk, her hand resting on the pearl bracelet Ethan Caldwell had given her, her mind racing about the journey from the purple gown to this moment. But today, a new feeling, a wave of nausea and lingering fatigue gnawed at her. Rosa Martinez entered, carrying a tray of chamomile tea. "You look pale, Maya," she said, with concern, placing the tray down. "You haven't had a proper breakfast in days. Is something wrong?" Maya shook her head, trying to smile. "Just stress, Rosa. The foundation needs me, and I can't afford to fail." But Rosa wasn't convinced. She sat down and took Maya's hand. "You're not just doing this for the foundation, dear. You're doing it for yourself and all the people who believe in you. But you have to take care of yourself, too. Have you felt different lately? More tired, more emotional? The question made Maya pause. She remembered breaking down in tears the week before, after receiving a thank you letter from a child in the reading program, an unusual reaction. And this morning's nausea, along with her delayed cycle, sparked a sudden realization. You don't think? Maya whispered, eyes wide. Rosa smiled gently and squeezed her hand. Then you should take a test, Maya. Whatever the result is, I'll be right here. An hour later, Maya sat on the bathtub's edge, hands trembling as she held the test strip. 2 clear lines appeared, confirming what she feared, and secretly hoped she was pregnant. Joy and fear flooded her heart. A child, hers and Ethan's, was a gift she had never dared to dream of during the cold years of their marriage. But now, as she was finally reclaiming herself and leading the foundation, could she balance it all? And Ethan, who was only learning to be a better husband. How would he react? Maya found Ethan in his home office reviewing documents. Ethan, we need to talk, she said, trembling. He looked up immediately, sensing her seriousness, and stood. What is it? Maya, are you all right? She took a deep breath, clutching her star-shaped pendant. I'm pregnant. The words hung in the air between them. For a moment, Ethan stood still, his face unreadable. Maya's heart sank, terrified he would see this as a burden. Then suddenly, Ethan's eyes filled with tears. A baby, he whispered, voice thick with emotion. He stepped forward and embraced her as if she were the most precious thing in the world. We're having a baby. Maya nodded, her tears falling freely now. Are you happy? She asked, voice unsteady. Ethan held her tighter. Happy doesn't even begin to describe it, Maya. I'm scared, but I'm overjoyed. He pulled back slightly, looking into her eyes. You are the strongest woman I know. We'll figure this out together. But that joy was soon eclipsed by Maya's growing worries. That night she sat by the bedroom window, gazing at the garden where Henry Brooks tended the roses. Ethan, she said quietly, I'm afraid I'll lose myself. The foundation. My dream. If I become a mother, will I still be the Maya I've just found? Again. Ethan joined her, taking her hand. Maya, you won't lose yourself. You'll be an incredible mother. And I'll do everything I can to support you with the foundation, our baby, and everything. His words comforted her, but the pressure remained. She thought of Clare's article, and the judge stared at the gala, Mr. Grayson and the board. Being a mother in a world that still viewed her through a lens of prejudice would not be easy. The next morning, Maya called Olivia Harper, now a close friend and trusted ally. Olivia. I'm pregnant, she said, her voice a mix of joy and worry. Olivia squealed in delight. Maya, that's amazing, but I can hear it in your voice. Something's bothering you. I'm scared I can't do it all. Maya admitted. The foundation is growing, but I don't want it to become a side project. And being a mother, I want to do it right, but I'm afraid of being judged. Olivia was silent for a moment, then replied with steady conviction. Maya, I've interviewed women leaders around the world. They all told me motherhood made them stronger, not weaker. You don't have to do it alone. You have me, Rosa, Ethan, and the entire foundation team. And the critics, let them talk. How many times have you already proven them wrong? Olivia's words made Maya smile, but a painful memory returned. She found her old journal in the library, pages from the early years of her marriage, filled with loneliness and self-doubt. Ethan ignored me again tonight. I tried to talk about books, but he only cared about work. Do I even exist? Another entry. I saw the guests' eyes at the party. They looked at me like I didn't belong. Maybe I never will. She cried reading those words. But then, a gentle flutter in her belly. Her baby's first kick snapped her back. I won't hide anymore, she whispered, wiping her tears. And neither will you. Ethan found her in the library, the journal open on the desk. He knelt beside her, eyes filled with pain, as he read a few lines. Maya. I hurt you so much, he said hoarsely. I can't undo the past, but I swear our child will never grow up like that. You are my light, and I'll do everything to protect it. Maya took his hand, feeling the sincerity in his touch. We'll do this together, Ethan, she said. But I need you to understand, I won't give up the foundation, or myself. They held each other, the moonlight pouring through the window, making the pearl bracelet and the star pendant glimmer. Maya knew the road ahead would be tough. Clare society, her doubts. But she also knew she was no longer the invisible woman of 5 years ago. She was Maya Johnson, a leader, a mother-to-be, and a woman ready to write her own story. The March rainstorm roared outside the hospital window, as if the skies echoed the pain Maya Johnson endured. 9 months had passed since she discovered she was pregnant. Now she lay on a hospital bed, beads of sweat on her forehead, gripping Ethan Caldwell's hand tightly. 14 hours of labor, each contraction a mountain to climb. But Maya never gave up. Ethan, his blonde hair disheveled and eyes filled with worry, stayed beside her the entire time, whispering words of encouragement. You're stronger than anyone I've ever known. Maya, he murmured. Voice choked. The star-shaped pendant from Rosa Martinez glinted on Maya's neck like a lighthouse, guiding her through the storm. Finally, a cry rang out, sharp, powerful, alive. The doctor lifted the newborn, a tiny baby girl with warm brown skin and bright eyes. Congratulations, Mrs. Caldwell, the doctor said, placing the child in Maya's arms. Maya wept not from pain, but from love overwhelming her. Zoe. She whispered the name they had chosen, meaning life. Ethan bent down, tears falling as he touched his daughter's tiny hand. She's perfect, Maya, he said, voice trembling, just like her mother. That moment was a rebirth, not just for Zoe, but for Maya and Ethan too. Maya looked at her daughter and thought of the journey from the invisible woman in a purple dress to the leader of the Johnson Caldwell Foundation, and now a mother. But the joy didn't erase fear. Maya faced media pressure, judgmental stares, and Claire Donovan's schemes throughout her pregnancy. She feared motherhood would cost her the light she had fought to reclaim. But when Zoe gripped her finger, Maya felt a new strength, one born of motherhood. Chapter 2 days later, Maya and Zoe returned to the villa where Rosa had decorated the nursery with vibrant bookshelves and a star-themed mural. So she'll always dream big, Rosa said, hugging Maya. She gave Zoe a small star-shaped pendant, identical to Maya's. For when she's ready to shine, she whispered, placing it in Zoe's keepsake box. Maya's eyes shimmered with tears. Thank you, she said softly. You helped me find my light again. And now Zoe's too. Ethan proved to be a devoted father, staying up late to change diapers and singing lullabies in his deep voice. One night, Maya watched him holding Zoe in the nursery and felt a renewed love for the man she once thought would never change. I want Zoe to know both versions of us, she said beside him. The father who lost his way and the one finding his way back. Ethan nodded, eyes filled with resolve. She'll know Maya, and she'll be proud of her mother who changed everything. But the outside world didn't rest. A week later, Olivia Harper visited with a bouquet and troubling news. Maya, I have to warn you, she said, serious. Claire Donovan is spreading rumors that you're neglecting the foundation because of motherhood. She's been talking to donors hinting you're not fit to lead. Maya clenched her fists, more tired than surprised. She never stops, does she? Olivia nodded. But I have a plan. We'll host an event at the new education center. Let the kids share their stories. No one can doubt you after seeing the impact firsthand. Maya agreed, but inside she wrestled with doubt. Motherhood had changed her, made her more sensitive, more vulnerable, and she feared Claire might be right. She brought Zoe to the education center now, a dazzling library in the East Wing, filled with colorful shelves. The foundation staff, trained by Olivia, welcomed Zoe with cheers. Our youngest literacy ambassador, one joked, making Maya laugh. Maya looked around as she placed Zoe in her stroller. The dream she once scribbled in a notebook was now absolute, and she silently vowed that she wouldn't let Claire take it from her. That night, Maya and Ethan sat in the garden, Zoe sleeping peacefully in her arms. "I'm scared, Ethan," she admitted. "Scared I can't be everything mother leader, everything people expect." Ethan took her hand, his gaze steady. "Maya, you don't have to do it all alone. You have me, Rosa, Olivia, and even Zoe. She'll remind you daily how strong you are." He touched her star pendant. "You changed my life. Never doubt yourself." His words made her smile, but she knew the challenges ahead. Claire Donovan wouldn't stop. Society would keep judging her through lenses of bias. But when Maya looked down at Zoe, feeling her gentle breath, a new resolve filled her. She was no longer fighting for herself, but for Zoe, the foundation's children, and everyone who had ever felt invisible. The moonlight bathed the garden in silver, where Henry Brooks's roses bloomed, silent witnesses to Maya's promise. Her light would never fade. Bright spring sunlight poured over the villa garden, where Henry Brooks' roses bloomed in full glory, setting the scene for the first anniversary celebration of the Johnson Caldwell Foundation. Maya Johnson stood among children, donors, and friends, wearing a golden yellow gown, her natural curls flowing, and Rosa Martinez's star pendant glittering at her neck. Zoe, her, and Ethan Caldwell's 8-month-old daughter lay peacefully in Ethan's arms, her bright eyes curiously taking in the colorful reading corners set up around the garden. The education center in the East Wing, now a vibrant library, had transformed the lives of hundreds of children, and today they would share their stories. Maya stepped onto the small wooden stage, her heart racing yet steady with confidence. She looked out at the crowd: Charles and Evelyn Harper, Olivia Harper, Rosa, Henry, and the foundation team, and felt their love and support surrounding her. A year ago, she began, her voice ringing clear. "I stood in darkness, believing I didn't deserve to be seen. But a purple dress, a star-shaped pendant, and the people who believed in me changed everything." The Johnson Caldwell Foundation isn't just about books. It's about helping every child know their story matters. The crowd applauded, and Maya invited the children to join her on stage, each holding a favorite book. A 10-year-old girl named Lila stepped forward and read aloud a story she had written about a black female astronaut soaring into space. "Miss Maya told me I could be anyone," Lila said, her voice trembling with pride. Maya embraced her, tears shimmering in her eyes. She glanced at Ethan, who was pointing out butterflies to Zoe, and saw him smile, a father's smile, a husband's smile, a partner's smile. But the joyful atmosphere shifted when Claire Donovan arrived, wearing an elegant white dress, accompanied by her husband, Victor Langston. Claire approached Maya after the children's presentation, her smile sugary, her gaze cold. "A lovely event, Maya," she said smoothly. "But don't you think you're reaching too far?" Mother Foundation leader, and now a community icon. No one can do it all. Maya felt heat rise in her chest but kept calm. "I'm not trying to do it all, Claire," she replied firmly. "I'm simply doing what I believe is right. You should try that instead of tearing others down." Nearby guests paused, tension thick in the air. Olivia Harper, standing close, winked at Maya. Claire's lips tightened, but before she could reply, Evelyn Harper stepped forward. "Claire, I think you should focus on your work," she said gently, but sharply. "Maya is doing what we should all strive to do, putting children first." Cornered, Claire turned away and stormed off with her husband. Maya exhaled, knowing this might be the last time Claire dared confront her directly. After the event, local newspapers buzzed with headlines. "Maya Johnson, a beacon for educational equity." The article praised the foundation and Maya's journey, accompanied by a photo of her standing proudly on stage. Ethan and Zoe just behind her, a portrait of unity. Olivia texted Maya, "You did it. Claire's out of moves." That evening, Rosa brought chamomile tea to the library and smiled. "I'm proud of you, Maya. You didn't just find your light, you shared it." Ethan entered Zoe asleep on his shoulder. "You changed everything, Maya," he said, sitting beside her. "Not just for the foundation. For Zoe. For me." Maya looked at him, remembering the painful years, the purple dress, New York, and Zoe. "We changed each other, Ethan," she replied. "But I want Zoe to know both versions of us, the mistakes, the victories, and how we found our way back." Ethan nodded, sincerity in his eyes. "She will. And she'll grow up knowing her mother taught her she could be anyone." He touched the pearl bracelet, then the star pendant on Maya's wrist. "You are my light, Maya, and I'll never stop learning how to cherish that light." Maya gazed at the garden where the reading corners still glowed with soft lights, children and families laughing and sharing stories. She thought of Lila, Zoe, and the many children the foundation would reach. From an invisible wife, she had become a leader, a mother, and a symbol of hope. She knew the journey wasn't over. There would still be prejudice, more Claire Donovans, and moments of self-doubt. But she also knew she had Ethan, Rosa, Olivia, and Zoe, who always reminded her that her light would never fade. "Our story doesn't end," Maya said, her voice soft but resolute beneath the moonlight. "Only new chapters waiting to be written." She held Zoe close, felt her baby's gentle breath, and took Ethan's hand. Together they walked into the garden where Henry's roses bloomed like a promise of a radiant future where everyone deserves to shine.